What's up everybody, it's Luke James, not the singer, and this is my review for Travis Scott's album, Days Before Rodeo. Now Travis Scott is a rapper and producer who is signed to Good Music and Grand Hustle, and this is the first time that I've ever had to do a review with an ass in my face, so let's just get on with the show. The album opens up with Days Before Rodeo, The Prayer. I don't have a whole lot to say about this one. The production is based around some light piano and it's sort of a slower, almost dark sounding type of track. And he's yelling Jesus on this track a couple of times, which is really annoying. Not because he's saying the word Jesus, but just the way he says it is like, Jesus, Jesus. And it goes on throughout the hook and other parts of the track. I didn't really like that. And the same goes for the song Sloppy Toppy featuring Pee Wee Longway and the Migos. I don't have a lot to say on this one either because it's pretty much just a dedication and an anthem for women who give sloppy toppy. And if you don't know what sloppy toppy is, look it up on Google. But not with your parents in the room. Now, the song Mamacita with Rich Homie Quan and Young Thug is kind of a dumbed down track, but I really like the beat on it, and it has some snares on it that are dancing around the track, adding a lot of flavor to it. It's a loud, banging type of beat, and it's good for your car. And as dumb as the chorus is, you're gonna get this stuck in your head, I guarantee. Like, you're just gonna be walking around the house, looking in the fridge, maybe making a sandwich, and you're just gonna be like, Mamacita, Sita, Sita. I know, it sounds bad, but that's what it is, but it's still catchy. Quintana Part 2 is a lot like Mamacita in the sense that it has a hard beat and a catchy hook, but again, there's not much here for the content. The beat does switch up a little bit for T.I.'s verse, which makes for an interesting listen, and T.I. has a good verse on this because he's doing some storytelling about the time that he spent in the drug game. And speaking of drugs, Drugs You Should Try is one of my favorite tracks on this album. The guitar, bass, and finger snaps make for a really laid back and cool R&B sound, and I really like the echoey vocals that Travis Scott is doing on here because it adds to that overall zoned out and mellow vibe of the track. I don't smoke, but if I did smoke, this is the type of song that I would sit out on the porch and listen to while I smoked a big blunt after a long day at work. As much as I like that song, I think Backyard is the track that stood out to me the most on this album. I like this one because Travis touches on some of his personal stories. He talks about his mom being in and out of the hospital. He had a 20-year-old girlfriend when he was in high school. Just little tidbits like that kind of give you a look into who Travis Scott is and where he came from. So the people who are saying that there's no lyrical value on this album clearly weren't listening to this song. The beat on here is great too. And even though it's not overly complicated, it still has a unique sound and some loud bass if you want to destroy the neighborhood or just piss some people off. Some of the beats on here are a little bit stale though, like Gray for example, where most of the work on the beat is done by some xylophone that sounds dull and some childish piano keys. But I'd be lying to you if I said it wasn't an interesting listen, because it still has a unique flavor to it. The flow on the second verse is impressive, and I like how Travis again touches on some personal issues, such as saying that he didn't go to college, obviously because he was working on his musical career instead. And Travis shows a great flow again on the song Back, which is a strong beat put together by Metro Boomin. And Metro Boomin also did the production on Skyfall featuring Young Thug and Mamacita, which I already mentioned. But I also want to bring up that Travis Scott has production credits on every song, so obviously as this album was being put together, he was working along with other producers to craft the interesting sound that they have going on here. The song Skyfall has an eerie sort of vibe to it, and most of us thought that it was about drugs, but Travis Scott took to Twitter to let people know that the song is actually about rappers who have fallen off, and so he doesn't want to support them anymore or help them out. He's kind of taken a shot at the OGs on this song, which I found kind of weird, but to each their own. So that's not every song, but it's most of them. I give this album a 3 out of 5. I think on the surface it seems like a very shallow album because of the auto-tune and some of the beats at times sound a bit typical just with the loud, almost trap sort of sound some of them have. But really the production on here is really great. I think the production is the strongest point. There's a lot of interesting sounds and vibes he has going on here that not a lot of other artists have going on. Although some people compare this album to Kid Cudi and even to Yeezus a little bit, but I don't really see that much. It is a bit experimental and different, but I don't listen to a lot of Kid Cudi, so I could be missing that comparison. But I definitely don't think it's really like Yeezus. That seems like a bit of a stretch to me. The rapping on here is probably the lowest point. Travis Scott does show from time to time that he can flow and piece together some personal songs, But for the most part, that doesn't really happen on this album a whole lot. There's a couple bright spots here and there, but a lot of the content is kind of typical, especially when you have songs like Sloppy Toppy and Mamacita, for example. Basically, I think it's some good music for your car. I think you could vibe out to this in your headphones, maybe if you're just hanging out with your boys, smoking and drinking, maybe even at a party. Maybe some of this would work at a strip club, but there's not a lot of depth to this album. I don't think it's the type of album that's going to have a lot of replay value, because there's not much that you're really going to take from it, and after you hear the production so many times, you're just going to get bored of it, and that's it. Thanks for watching. Check out my channel, watch some of my other videos, share them, retweet them, etc., etc. If you're an indie rapper and you want a review, hit me up at luke@redmattersite.com. You can also send hate mail there, fan mail there, opinions there, whatever you want to send me. Well, not really. Like, don't send me goatsy pictures, or if you don't know what goatsy is, I'd tell you to look that up, but don't look it up. Maybe you want me to review an album that I missed. I'm cool with that. If I have the time, I'll get to it, and I'll see you guys next time.